If you ever climbed into the back of a station wagon before sunrise, wrapped in a blanket, half asleep while your dad loaded the trunk and your mom double-checked the cooler, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was something about those trips that stays with you. Not just the destinations, the whole thing. The way America unfolded outside those windows mile after mile, the smell of that vinyl upholstery heating up in the afternoon sun, the crackle of AM radio fading in and out as you crossed into new territory. Let me take you back. The station wagon was the vehicle of the American family. Ford Country Squire with that fake wood grain paneling on the sides, Chevy Kingswood, Pontiac Safari, Plymouth Sport Suburban. These weren't just cars, they were rolling living rooms. Bench seats up front where mom and dad sat. Bench seat in the middle for the older kids. And then that magical third row in the very back. The way back. Rear facing, so you watched where you'd been instead of where you were going. That was prime real estate. Kids fought over who got to sit back there. You'd sprawl out with pillows, make faces at the cars behind you, wave at truckers hoping they'd honk their air horns. Sometimes you'd hold up signs you'd made. Hi, honk, where are you from? When a trucker actually pulled that air horn for you, it felt like winning the lottery. Nobody wore seatbelts. The car didn't even have enough of them for everyone. Kids slept stretched across the back, completely free, rolling around on curves. You'd wake up in a different state with the sun in your eyes and no idea how many hours had passed. Air conditioning was rare. Most families couldn't afford it as an option, and even if you had it, Dad usually didn't want to run it because he said it hurt the gas mileage. So you drove with all four windows down. Those little triangle vent windows up front? You'd angle them to push air into the car. Highway wind roaring through. Your mom's hair going crazy. Someone's map threatening to blow out the window. The radio was AM only. One speaker in the dashboard. You'd pick up local stations that came and went as you drove through different areas. Static between towns. Then suddenly, a clear signal. The Beatles. Elvis. The Beach Boys singing about California and cars and surfing. Your parents might switch to a news station. You'd grown. Then something good would come back on, and everyone would sing along because you all knew the same songs from hearing them 100 times. Gas stations were an event. You'd pull in and drive over that rubber hose stretched across the pavement. Ding, ding. A guy in a uniform would walk out, not to a little window, to your car. He'd pump your gas, check your oil, wash your windshield, check your tires. All of it, included. Dad would hand him a few dollars and get change back because gas was about 30 cents a gallon. While the adults handled business, you'd run inside to use the bathroom and stare at the vending machines. Grab a bottle of Coke from the cooler. Glass bottle. 6.5 ounces. Ice cold. The gas stations had character. Sinclair had that big green dinosaur. Actual fiberglass brontosaurus statues at some locations. You'd beg your parents to stop at that one just because of the dinosaur. Texaco gave out little fire chief helmets to kids. Mobil had the Flying Red Horse, Flying A, Pure, Gulf, each one with its own personality. And S and H green stamps. Your mum collected those little stamps with every purchase, pasted them into booklets, saved them up to redeem for toasters and coffee makers and things for the house. The highways back then were lined with things to see. Not just billboards, actual attractions. Wall drug signs started showing up hundreds of miles before you got there. Free ice water, wall drug 297 miles, wall drug 156 miles. By the time you actually reached the place in South Dakota, you had to stop. You'd been reading about it for hours. They had a giant dinosaur out front. Gift shops stuffed with souvenirs. And yes, free ice water. South of the border on the line between North and South Carolina. That 97-foot tall Pedro statue you could see from the highway. Billboards for 500 miles with terrible puns. Pedro's weather report, chilly today, hot tamale. You didn't even want to stop, but you had to because you'd been looking at those signs since Virginia. Stuckies with the teal roof. You knew you could count on clean bathrooms, which mattered more than you'd think on a long trip. Pecan log rolls in the glass case, bins of souvenirs, rubber tomahawks, wooden pop guns, pennants from whatever state you were passing through. You'd beg for something, anything, and usually come away with a small toy or a postcard to add to your collection. Burma-Shave signs were still out there on some of the older roads. 6 small signs spaced apart, meant to be read at 35 miles per hour, each one with a piece of a rhyme. Don't pass cars, on curve or hill. If the cops don't get you, morticians will. Burma-Shave. You'd read them out loud together, waiting for the punchline. Mystery spots, alligator farms, rattlesnake ranches, giant concrete animals, Paul Bunyan statues 20 feet tall. A whole tourist economy built around getting families to pull off the highway and spend a few dollars looking at something weird and wonderful. The motels. Nothing like hotels today. You'd start watching for the neon signs as the sun went down. Vacancy glowing in the dusk. Some places had themes. Western motels with wagon wheels out front. Tiki motels with fake palm trees. Space-age motels with boomerang shapes and starbursts. Holiday Inn was the reliable choice. That big green and yellow sign lit up like a beacon, tall enough to see from the highway. You knew what you were getting. A pool. Ice machine down the hall. Kids stayed free. The rooms all looked the same, which was actually comforting. Clean. Predictable. Howard Johnson's with the orange roof. 28 flavors of ice cream. Kids could get a little checklist card and try to taste all of them over the course of a summer, but the independent motels had something else. Kidney-shaped swimming pools with no lifeguard. You'd swim until dark while your parents sat in lawn chairs. Some rooms had magic fingers. You'd drop a quarter in the box attached to the bed, and the whole mattress would vibrate for 15 minutes. Every kid tried it. Every kid thought it was hilarious. Inside the room, everything was different from home. Wrapped soap bars, paper strips across the toilet seat proving nobody had used it. A TV bolted to a swivel stand. Ice bucket you'd take down the hall to fill up at the machine. The excitement of sleeping in a strange place, hearing unfamiliar sounds outside, knowing tomorrow you'd be somewhere new. Entertainment in the car came from each other. No screens, no headphones. You played games. Auto bingo cards with little red sliding shutters. You'd mark off things as you spotted them: barn, silo, church, cow, water tower. First one to get 5 in a row wins. The license plate game. You kept a list on paper, every new state you spotted. California was exotic. Alaska or Hawaii were almost mythical. You'd stare at every passing car looking for something new to add. I Spy. 20 questions. The alphabet game where you had to find letters in order on signs and license plates. Q was always the killer. You'd be stuck on Q for 50 miles. Counting Volkswagen Beetles, punch buggy. You'd actually punch your sibling when you saw one. Probably harder than necessary. Your parents would point out things. Look at that. See those mountains. Watch for the state line sign. And when you crossed into a new state, it felt significant. You'd stop at the welcome center, grab the free maps and brochures, look at the big wall map showing everything there was to see. Food on the road was its own thing. Most families packed a cooler. Fried chicken made the night before. Sandwiches in wax paper, deviled eggs, potato chips, apples, thermoses of Kool-Aid or iced tea. You'd stop at a roadside picnic area, one of those spots with concrete tables and maybe a pump for water, and spread everything out on the car's tailgate. Eating lunch while watching 18-wheelers blast past on the highway. When you did stop at a restaurant, it was a treat. Howard Johnson's. A local diner with a counter and swivel stools. The excitement of looking at a menu and being told you could order whatever you wanted within reason. The destinations: the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, the Great Smoky Mountains, Niagara Falls, Disneyland if you were really lucky. You'd seen pictures, but nothing prepared you for the real thing. Standing at the edge of something massive, the whole family together, knowing you'd driven all that way to see this. And the national parks were ready for you. New visitor centers had gone up throughout the late 50s and 60s, rangers in their hats and uniforms, junior ranger programs for kids, nature trails, campfire talks. These places felt important, educational, American. For most families, flying was too expensive. Airlines were regulated and fares were high. But gas was cheap and vacation time was sacred, and the car was right there in the driveway. The road trip was the democratic way to see your own country. The miles accumulated. The states checked off. The memories stacking up like those postcards you collected at every stop. What made it special? Maybe it was the forced togetherness. No escape, no headphones, no separate screens. Just family, stuck together, figuring out how to pass the time, sharing the same radio station, seeing the same things, experiencing America at the same speed. You learned what your country looked like, how the landscape changed from east to west, how people talked differently in different places, how 1,000 miles could feel both endless and not nearly long enough. Those trips taught you patience, boredom, wonder, the strange comfort of being far from home but completely safe because your parents were up front and they knew where they were going. The station wagon, the motels, the diners, the roadside attractions, the heat and the wind and the AM radio and the endless highway stretching out ahead. That was the American road trip in the 1960s. And for those of us who were there, crammed in the way back, faces pressed to the glass, watching the world scroll by, those memories don't fade, they just get warmer with time. Thanks for taking this trip with me. If you remember those days, I'd love to hear your stories in the comments.